Happy Friday, April 26th, everyone. Welcome back here to North Central Weather Center. My name is Hunter, and in today's weather forecast, we have some very active weather to talk about, including the threat for significant severe weather across parts of the north central U.S. and some very heavy rainfall over the next couple of weeks. We'll be diving into everything that you need to know in today's weather forecast. Hey, if you are new here to North Central Weather Center, make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. We'll keep you covered on the North Central United States throughout this year. We do videos on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and also the weekends if needed. Also, be sure to press the like button, the thumbs up button down below. It helps out more than you know. So without further ado, let's get into today's weather forecast for your Friday, April the 26th. And we are looking at temperatures this morning starting off pretty chilly up here across the Great Lakes region on up into the upper Midwest. Temperatures there were into the 30s and 40s this morning. A little milder further south as the warm sector of our new storm system was moving into Kansas and Missouri, with areas into the 50s and even well into the 60s this morning in Kansas to start off. As we go into the afternoon, chillier to the north as we have some cooler weather on the cold side of the storm, and then the warm sector on the warm side of the storm, we're going to be well into the 60s, if not the 70s, and I can't even rule out a few low 80s across portions of southern Kansas this afternoon. Let's look at our new storm system. So this afternoon, a 990 millibar low across south central Nebraska will track northeastward into southwestern Minnesota to a 993 millibar low between this afternoon and tonight. And on the warm side of the storm, south of the warm front and ahead of the dry line, we're going to be seeing a significant round of severe weather potential. The Storm Prediction Center's latest update at 11:30 a.m. Central Time has an enhanced risk, a level 3 out of 5, on the severe risk scale across parts of our north central U.S. states into the Omaha region, Des Moines, stretching down there to Kansas City, Topeka, and even Springfield, Missouri here. We have a larger area, again, in our central and eastern viewing area in that severe risk zone. And looking at the hazards for storms today, we could see some very large hail here, especially from Omaha down to Topeka into Kansas City, even down into Springfield, Missouri. That's the area most concerned for those hen egg size hailstones or larger. Also, we have kind of a bimodal threat for some strong tornadoes. The strongest area of potentially strong tornadoes is up here near the triple point of our low pressure system, where the low is tracking from south central Nebraska into southwestern Minnesota. We have the warm front draped across this region and the dry line. That's your triple point, and we have a 10% chance of some strong tornadoes here across Omaha, Des Moines, and Ames, Iowa, down there and towards just north of the Kansas City region here, and then into portions of southwestern Missouri, including Springfield and Joplin. We actually do have a 10% risk of strong tornadoes down there as well, but a larger broad brushed area of tornadoes in the dark green and brown shaded colors surrounding that. Still a chance of some tornadoes, and then a broad brushed area of some 60 plus mile per hour winds, especially from Omaha eastward to Des Moines. And then southward through Missouri, the Ozarks region there towards St. Louis, into Springfield, Topeka, and toward Wichita and Kansas City. These areas could be seeing, again, those 60 plus mile per hour wind gusts. So looking here at the setup for severe weather, our dew point temperatures today well into the 60s along and south of the warm frontal boundary and ahead of the dry line. That will destabilize the environment here today. Moderate to strong instability, especially when you get up into those 2,000s, if not 3,000s, joules per kilogram instability range, your convective available potential energy, otherwise known as CAPE, as you call it here. And you can see our low-level jet in the 850 millibar layer is actually pretty robust today, especially up near the triple point there in southwest Iowa, but also enhanced in that bimodal threat of strong tornadoes further south into southwestern Missouri around Springfield and Joplin. Those areas have over 60 knot low-level jets. So what that's going to do is those significant tornado parameter values and that parameter space is actually going to be pretty robust as well. When you factor in the helicity and the low-level wind shear, the mid-level wind shear, you get a parameter space called, again, a significant tornado parameter. A value greater than 1 is significant. Look at all the areas greater than 1 here across southern Iowa, eastern Kansas, into west central portions of Missouri. So we need to keep an eye out for this as we go through today. Let's look at the timing. So this afternoon, new supercell thunderstorms developing back here into eastern Nebraska near the triple point. Remember, that's where the low pressure system, the warm front, and the dry line or cold front will meet across this region. Enhanced low level wind shear, some tornadoes will be possible. Going into this evening, this arcing band of supercells will move across Nebraska into western and eventually central Iowa through the Omaha region and moving over toward Ames, Fort Dodge, and Des Moines, Iowa. This is what we're going to keep an eye on through the evening hours. Another threat of stronger storms down towards St. Louis. That could extend back into the Ozarks there of Missouri. We'll be keeping a close eye on that. And then going into early Saturday morning, we could be dealing with potentially some storms moving further east into our eastern viewing area. This could lead to more of those showers and storms across Indiana, into Ohio and southeastern Illinois, and maybe the foothills of Missouri, but this will be on a weakening trend as it moves further to the east. I did also want to note that was thunder outside my window. I am from northern Illinois, so if you hear that again, that is just thunder here. I do apologize. We have some thunderstorms here today as well. Looking here at your Saturday, April 27th through Sunday, April 28th, we are seeing a new storm system moving into the Four Corners region, a new trough here, and this is going to eject into our part of the country, into the north central U.S. by Sunday. And looking at this as well, this is going to be leading to more warm temperatures. Our temperature anomalies this weekend are going to be into the teens or 20s above normal, folks, especially over here into the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and Great Lakes, especially for Michigan, up to 20 degrees above normal. Our temperature anomalies for Saturday and Sunday, a little bit below normal to the west, where we have a little cooler air on the cold side of the storm across northern Minnesota, the Dakotas, and back into the Panhandle and western portions of Nebraska. Looking at those temperatures for the weekend, Saturday, look at how warm we get across Kansas and Missouri and downstate Illinois into the 80s. We see that continuing into Sunday, a few 80s out there, but a lot of 70s across the Midwest, the Central Plains eastward toward the Ohio Valley. A lot cooler to the north, though, up here to the Dakotas, northern Minnesota, into Wisconsin. And on the warm side of the storm, or kind of the battleground of where those cooler and warmer temperatures will be, another widespread area of severe weather on Saturday. Slight risk extending from northern lower Michigan through Wisconsin here into northern Illinois, Iowa, back into Missouri here, and Kansas, even back into Nebraska. Enhanced risk from Des Moines to Kansas City, back into Topeka and Wichita, Kansas. Once again, that's a level 3 out of 5 for Saturday. Very large hail is going to be a big deal for a large chunk of Kansas, western portions of Missouri, Iowa, and southeastern Nebraska. And then we're going to have a threat for strong tornadoes again in our far southern viewing area, especially around the Kansas City, Topeka, and Wichita region, but a large area of tornado potential extending all the way up toward Milwaukee, La Crosse, Green Bay, even up here toward Grand Rapids, Michigan, as we go through Saturday. Even the threat of damaging winds will be around there as well. Let's look at Saturday setup. Dew point temperatures, even larger warm sector there on Saturday. Dew points well into the 60s, pushing 70 degrees even into parts of Missouri there. A large reservoir of instability, folks. This is like mid-June, mid-July type levels of instability, especially into Missouri, where we have up to 4,000 joules per kilogram of energy. That is extreme energy for these storms to work with here, and thunderstorm fuel, if you will. And look at the low-level jet maxing out across eastern Kansas here into western and northwest Missouri. That's over 60, even approaching 65 knots through the day on Saturday. That's why those significant tornado parameter space values are actually as high as they are as we go into Saturday, well over 5s. And again, a greater than 1 is significant. So we start off on Saturday morning, pretty dry out here in the north central U.S. We go into the afternoon, widely scattered activity. These will be supercells, semi-discrete supercells, even some multi-clusters here. Fancy word for saying there's going to be thunderstorms out there. So you want to make sure that you have your radar tool handy, and also you want to have a NOAA weather radio handy for Saturday afternoon in case you get any watches and warnings. And then we have it growing more upscale as that stronger low-level jet feeds into this as we go into the evening. evening hours. And then early Sunday morning, this will transition from a significant severe weather threat to a flash flooding threat across our eastern and central viewing area from northern Illinois back into Missouri here and eastern Kansas, as these storms will be moving over the very same areas. And just looking at Saturday afternoon through Sunday morning commute here, this is the rainfall totals we're going to be seeing from north central Illinois down toward I-80 there, in towards far southeastern Iowa through northern and central Missouri and southeastern Kansas in our viewing area. That's where we could see a swath of locally 4 to 7 inches worth of rain in that 12-hour window there, and that could lead to a slight risk of some flash flooding, even a moderate risk of flash flooding in far southeastern Kansas in our far southern viewing area Saturday and into Sunday. Speaking of Sunday, severe weather risk continues. This is going to be highly dependent on what is left over of storm activity into Sunday morning. This threat could go up or down, but right now the Storm Prediction Center has a marginal risk up there into Wisconsin, southeastern Michigan, so around portions of the Rochester region, La Crosse over here towards Milwaukee, even Rockford, Illinois, and Des Moines over here toward Omaha, and then a slight risk from around St. Louis, Springfield, Illinois, back into Springfield, Missouri, Kansas City, Topeka, all the way down here towards eastern Kansas. We'll be keeping an eye on that for Sunday. Again, a large warm sector will be present, 60s dew points, not as strong of instability, and that's because of the storms Saturday night into Sunday morning may work over the atmosphere a little bit more, but we're still seeing instability values over 1,000 joules per kilogram and a decently robust low-level jet as well, over 60 knots here to help rotate and organize these thunderstorms through the day on Sunday. Again, a value greater than 1 is significant. You can see that here across portions of Iowa, especially down here into western Missouri and southeastern Kansas. Some of those values approaching 5s and 6s here as we go into Sunday afternoon and evening with those significant tornado parameter space values. So let's look here. Sunday morning, we have a kind of a broken line of storms with ongoing flash flooding threat Sunday morning. As that low-level jet weakens through midday, we'll start to see that coverage kind of become more from widespread to more isolated here. And then as we go into Sunday evening, as the low approaches the low pressure system and that instability builds, this could fire off some new severe weather across portions of the Midwest, down into the mid-Missouri Valley here, and that will be ongoing eastward towards Chicago, towards St. Louis, and into the Illinois Valley into early Monday morning, with additional flash flooding possible here in those same areas. Now going into next week, Monday, April the 29th through Friday into the new month, May 3rd, you can see during that week time frame, most of us will be above normal with our temperature anomalies by a handful of degrees, except for areas to the north across the Dakotas and northern Minnesota. We can't seem to shake out of the below normal temperature regime up here, and that will continue into next week. A very active weather pattern will persist. You can see a lot of us above normal precipitation anomalies through next week. You can see Monday, a cold frontal boundary, kind of more diffuse, moving further to the east. Tuesday, a new disturbance moves in across the high plains into the upper Midwest, bringing us some showers and some colder rains up there. Still active as we go into midweek next week on Wednesday. Thursday, another storm system moves in here with a kind of a bimodal area of precipitation. A little bit of precipitation up there into eastern Dakotas and Minnesota. Maybe some snowflakes even mixed in, even into May up there, folks, on May 2nd into eastern North Dakota and northwest Minnesota. Another area of disturbance further south into Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, into the Ohio Valley. Could have another threat of rain and storms down there. Friday looks to be one of the drier days next week as we have high pressure working in on the backside of the storm. That could lead to a drier weekend for most of us in the north central United States as we go into the following weekend. So definitely looking forward to that after this active weather pattern. So between Monday, April 29th and Friday, May 3rd next week, during that 5-day period, here's the additional rainfall accumulation we'll be seeing. The heaviest rains across Kansas, parts of Iowa, Missouri, Illinois. That'll stretch over into Kentucky, into Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio. Lighter amounts to the north across our upper Midwestern region and our high plains region up here toward the Dakotas. But as you go through that period, so from now today through Friday, May 3rd, totaling up both and all of those storm systems, we're going to be seeing widespread coverage of very heavy rain across our entire viewing area, except for the far western Dakotas, only seeing around a half an inch of rain. But all of us at some point we'll be seeing precipitation between now and May 3rd, so definitely be watching out for that. Please be watching out for the severe weather and flash flooding risk. It is very real, and we'll keep you covered on here at North Central Weather Center throughout the year on your weather forecast. Make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. We'll keep you covered again throughout the year. Make sure to press the like button, the thumbs up button down below. Our next video is scheduled for Monday, so make sure to tune in for that, and have a wonderful rest of your weekend out there.